Well, oh my gosh, it's 2 o'clock my time here in beautiful Colorado. My name is Diane Lauer. I'm the Chief Academic Officer in the St. Vrain Valley Schools, and the sun is shining. It was like 17 degrees this morning, and I think it is now, what about 65 degrees? And I am super excited. I got to get outside, and I am ready to do it. Um, if you, well, hello, Molly. Good to see ya. Thanks for coming on in. I'm going to throw up my screen. And the first thing I'm going to do is give y'all access to, ooh, this is fun. I got to keep letting people in. Ooh, you don't want to see that. Ooh. Okay, I'm going to stop my share so I can get this. I'm going to put the slide deck in the chat so anybody can access this. I know that you guys can access it later. Let me throw this in the link. So if some of you got a scram, you can at least get something that may be exciting to take with you. I'm going to tell you what, the other thing I would love to have is I know that they'll have this as well, is I have created a little spreadsheet. So if you can all put your name and contact information, this way we can all share each other's information here. And then I have your information, or we all have each other's information, whoever wants to share. Because, oh my gosh, we are learning all of this stuff together. And so this is the title of this is AI Awareness to Application. One district's uh, one district's approach. And so if you are here, then hopefully you are in the right place for that. We're calling it one district's approach because I know that there are many. And my best wish is that I get to do some thinking from you all. So if you could right now just throw your name in the chat, your name, your location, what state or what country you're from, and let's get started. Throw your name and where you're located in the chat. All right. Sweet. Here we go. This is me. So here's my information. I'm probably most active on Twitter. I'm trying to get myself more active on LinkedIn. Right now, it's a homework assignment every week. I try to post something, but I am pretty darn active on Twitter. And I added my phone number as well. And so I would love to meet each and every one of you because the only way we're going to figure out this is to do this work together. I work for the St. Vrain Valley Schools. Here's a link to our amazing school district website. We're located about 30 minutes north of Denver, and we have about 33,000 students, 5,000 employees, and our goal is to provide each and every student a strong competitive advantage so that they are successful in our highly complex globalized environment. And if you don't think I have that memorized, you you could just go to our school district webpage because you don't even have to memorize it. You will see it the minute you arrive. Everybody that comes to the St. Vrain website gets to see us telling everyone, the world, we are the future of America. And we truly are, our mission is to provide our current and future generations with that strong competitive advantage. So when we started thinking about, AI, for us, goals are not goals, whether we're implementing a new math curriculum or we're implementing iPads or we're implementing whatever we're doing. For us, all of our eyes and everything we do is focused on this belief that we're providing our students with their future and that we're going to give them a strong competitive advantage. And so really, it was kind of, I don't want to say easy, but when we were thinking about AI, we've been really focused on technology innovation for a long time. 2 years before COVID, we actually had Thomas Friedman come out and speak to a large group of our community stakeholders and our leaders to talk about the advancements in technology and just really understand that as humans, it's been tough for us to adapt on the scale and on the pace that technology is. And so our system has been thinking about exponential growth for a long time. And so when AI started, we started talking about it, actually, I'd say about 3 years ago, our superintendent really started us thinking about what are we going to do? We saw this coming. And we knew it was going to be even bigger than mobile technology, which was a huge push for us in implementing one-to-one technology across our system. And so when we took a look at kind of how are we going to prepare ourselves for to be an AI enabled organization, we've really looked at it through three different lenses: our policies, our products, and our practices. As the chief academic officer, I work hand in hand with our chief technology officer. Thank goodness, because that's the only way that you can really do this work well. And Michelle Bourgeois is amazing. And so I'm going to talk to you mostly about the practices because that's where I spend most of my time. But I can answer some questions and share with you how we're thinking about our policies and our practices as well. We are mostly an Apple district, so we do a lot of fan people stuff, but we would really do like to take their thinking about how we prepare for the long term. And so we don't want to get caught up in the shiny objects, and we are not thinking about AI as the new app or the new tool or how we're going to use these things. We really are thinking about how we can harness AI to transform and to advance our system and to transform and advance our students. So we're in it for the long haul. And so we've been thinking about how might we help our stakeholders use generative AI safely, effectively, ethically, and critically. This is the sentence that comes out of my mouth over and over and over again. We do a lot of design thinking, so it's a lot of how might we? All right, I'm going to dive into some of the stuff that we're doing. First, I want to talk a little bit about our practices. We've got some assumptions in how we laid out a lot of our training and thoughts around how do we get people to shift their practice. We tend to start with positive presuppositions, and we believe that people are naturally curious, and that's a good thing because there's a lot to be curious about in the area of AI. And we also assume that knowledgeable and skillful stakeholders will not operate in fear. And what a lot of us saw was the shutdown, turn off, cheating, all this kind of stuff. When we go to fear, most of the time, that's because we don't have information. And so our theory of action was really around people who use generative AI personally and professionally will make thoughtful decisions on how to use these tools in their classroom, in their departments, in their roles, and in their life. So starting this fall, actually before this fall, actually starting last spring, soon as ChatGPT kind of hit the field in November of last year, we were like, we have to get this in the hands of people sooner rather than later. And so we embarked on creating a comprehensive plan to train. We thought about the adults in our system and we thought about the students. When we thought about the adults, we knew that we wanted to have a variety of modalities to do some training in. We wanted super easy entry with low stakes. This technology is changing so fast. It was challenging for us to think about how to create a training program when we knew that the next day a new tool could arrive. Um, and we wanted to lean into our trailblazers, our early adopters, and we wanted to train everyone. We have 5,000 employees in our school district, and we wanted to really lean into that. How can we help them use it personally and professionally? And then we also thought about our students. We wanted them to be able to use it the same. Like, how can we help them think about using it personally? How should they use it in school? We wanted to harness our students who are champions and early adopters as well. And we are doing a lot of thinking around this creating versus consuming. You know, when we implemented mobile technology, and because we use iPads, one of the reasons why we selected iPads is because it gave students a more expansive field of creation tools. And now we're thinking about that the same way with AI. We don't want our students or our adults to be merely consumers of AI. We want them to be creating. So, and so that connections to AI career connections, we're really thinking about our post-secondary pathway and how we supporting parents. So this is all kind of part of our thinking. And so this is just a down and dirty list of kind of all the training that we've done this year. The very first people that we've been talking to is our leadership cabinet. This is everybody who's an executive director and up in our school district. We have cabinet meetings. I go every Tuesday afternoon. Every Tuesday afternoon of my life, I get to spend with my very closest friends, and we do a lot of thinking about our district. And I can tell you that AI comes up at least every other meeting. And we have had time just in our own cabinet meetings where we have been trying out. Our superintendent comes and he talks about how he is using AI. So it's a real thread in who we are as an organization. The first group of people we did a formal training with was actually our leadership council. That consists of the next like directors and higher and our principals. And we've done 3 formal trainings with this group, and we have ongoing conversations. And from the leadership council, the very next group that we did a formal training with was our school board. We did an hour and a half long presentation. We gave them the opportunity to dive in. We have a 7-member board, and when we did it last fall, only one had actually used AI before. They were all extremely nervous. The only thing they had heard is all the bad stuff. And after the training, they were really excited to use it more in their personal life. And we were really excited about that. We've got meetings. You probably have tons of meetings too. And so we make it our principals, APs, and deans in their principal meetings, they have monthly share outs. Our lead principals incorporate just even small bits of how they're using AI on a regular basis. So we're all just sharing the innovations. My goal this year is to train 2,000 teachers, and my 2 friends that are here with me today, Jason and Courtney, they're doing most of the work. I just talk and I press buttons to spend money. So that's pretty much my job, but that's our goal, is to try to train 2,000 teachers. We want 2,000 teachers who've at least tried AI and are using it for some semblance in their personal and professional life. And then we've got 3,000 other staff in addition to that, that we really want to raise awareness. And me, Jason, and Courtney, we can't do it all. And that's why we've been training our department leaders through our leadership cabinet and our leadership council, so that whether you're in finance or transportation or nutrition or our operations, everyone's thinking about how they might use this for themselves professionally and themselves personally. The coolest group, I'd say, is our student ambassadors. These kids are amazing. And they're the ones who are actually doing a lot of creating and innovating and actually making AI tools. And so we're using them in a lot of our training. And we work with our students all the time. And this last bit, the family members, is probably where we're needing is our next area of innovation. Next year, we're all going to be about training our families. All right. So the very first thing that we did with our teachers is we sent out in September an opportunity for them to be a part of AI Bingo. This was our low risk, super fun, asynchronous, not time bound opportunity for teachers to kind of join in. And if you got the slide deck there, you'll see the bit.ly. This goes to a thing link. And let's see if I can go ahead and grab that now. Um, I'd like to thank Courtney and Jason for this because they created it, and I just think it is super clever. When you get to the thing link, you'll see that you can click on a bingo square, and it gives you a prompt of something that you can do on your own time, before school, on the weekend, at midnight, whatever you want. We're asking people, and it's not just teachers, our staff, any one of the 5,000 folks can be a part of AI Bingo. Right now, we have just under 500 people who are playing the game to get credit. We use Schoology as a learning management software. So they do the task, they throw up their results in Schoology, and then they all get to see what everybody is doing. It's a very low risk, gamified way for folks to engage. So that is our bingo. I'm gonna pop back over to my slide. All right. Jason, give me a thumbs up if you can see the bingo board again. All right, cool. I'm slow on the draw because my computer's breathing heavy right now. All right, so if you're taking a look at the AI bingo, one of the things that Courtney sneakily did is there's a couple of pop-up ways. So teachers get credit if they get 3 bingos, and they get even more PD salary credit if they do a blackout. But what we want is for teachers to come to pop-ups. Our pop-ups are kind of like these ed camp style, hands-on training opportunities, just for an hour and a half after school. We're running them monthly. They're very low risk. There's usually 5 to 7 different choices that teachers or staff, anybody who comes, we've had school secretaries, we've had custodial staff, we've had all kinds of people show up. And it's just really fun. And you'll see right in front is one of our AI student leaders helping one of our staff members try to use ChatGPT. And so this was from one of our very first pop-ups in the beginning of the year. And we've had both virtual and face-to-face, mostly face-to-face, because, post-COVID, we're trying to get everybody to do face-to-face. So you can see we've had all these different sessions. And because our school district is 411 square miles, we have 60 different sites. We're trying to get on the east side, the west side, the north side, the south side. This is another idea of how do we really connect with those early adopters. So this is, again, something that Jason and Courtney, we have identified, every school has identified 1 or 2 school champions. This is so the principal has somebody to lean in with when we're asking them to do site-based professional development, and just somebody who's innovating in their own school. We're paying these people, so we're giving them about, I don't know, $650 for them to be part of our think tank. And so every month we have presentations they share out. they ask us questions, we find information, we provide resources to them. And this is just really so as a district, we have school level touch points that we can really uh, work together. So we kind of have a top down and a bottom up way of um, advancing learning in our school. And they've really enjoyed being part of this group. And Jason and Courtney have done an incredible job working with them. We've asked our schools to also host school level trainings. We have late start Wednesdays once a month. And of course, we've got some in-service time with staff meetings. So really, we put it on every principal. We said, can you have at least one meeting and give your teachers time to play with, to engage, to share what they're doing? And so we came up with an incentive to send cookies. So if they're going to have a late start, there's a Google form, and our secretary in the Office of Professional Development, if they say date and time of when that training is, we will send them a whole flat of cookies from Sam's Club. And so it's just one more way to incentivize. And what you'll see here, we do everything in Twitter because we like to see what everybody's doing. So on the left is Skyline High School, and you can see the high school teachers, they were doing some playtime. And then there's Jason right there. He is doing a 4-part PD series with the special ed team at one of our elementary schools. So we're really trying to look through different stakeholder lens. This was on the left is our world language teachers had an opportunity to share AI and how they're using it personally and professionally. And then on the right-hand side, we had a go-to session at one of our schools, Flagstaff, and they brought our mobile innovation bus to them, and they were training students and staff on some cool AI technology. So that leads me to our AI student leaders. These guys are just the bomb. And that's Dylan Wisman on the left and Maivu on the right. They are super AI innovators, and they're leaders in the middle. They are doing all kinds of school site trainings, community trainings, and family night trainings. And they like to tweet as well. And so what you can see on the left is taking that group over to Flagstaff Academy. And on the right, this is when they went out to the Senior Center of Longmont, and they were able to share teaching members of our community how to use generative AI. All right. I'm gonna ask for you guys to reflect just a little bit before I go into policy. And thinking about all the ways to train your staff, what is one kind of thing you heard me ramble on about? And what are you doing? What's one training innovation you are considering with AI? Go ahead and put a training, some way that you're training. Throw an idea in the chat. And I see a question from Marcia, and you're saying, did I say that our superintendent started conversations 3 years ago? Yes, yes. He's very much a futurist person. And so we've been thinking about AI and how do we use AI. And so we've actually had AI classes where kids are building and using artificial intelligence to code and to create with. And really it was just last year when generative AI came forward. But yes, we've been thinking about AI for a long time, but generative AI really launched us forward. We're doing all of our training in-house. And so, yes, right. I see Jason's answering some questions. I would love to put, if you guys, I gotta tell you, my favorite is the AI bingo. Oh my gosh. I love that. And Jason, if you could drop the presentation link in the chat, I would love you forever. Um, yeah, and keep putting all your great ideas in this because I gotta steal some of your ideas. All right, I'm gonna go back and yap at you guys a little bit more. Um, okay, policies, and this is not my favorite section. I I I'm I'm a professional developer through and through, but I can stir up some mean policies if you really want me to. But here was our thinking about policies. Our assumption going into this was this is going to be really different than a one-to-one implementation. Because while the apps change on the iPad, I mean, I don't know. That was my last big thing 10 years ago. That racked my brain. But this was like totally different. We're like, oh my gosh, like we knew change was going to happen fast and it's not going to stop. So it's not like we could say, make a training module and then get everyone to do that training module. Because every time we turn around, there's a new innovation. And at the same time, we said, let's not rush. Let's learn and be thoughtful. And boy, oh boy, am I so glad we did that. Because it's one thing to be on the cutting edge, and it's another thing to be on the bleeding edge. And I don't want to bleed. Sometimes I just want to take my time. So our theory of action remains the same. People who use generative AI personally and professionally will make thoughtful decisions on how to use it in their classroom, their department, and their role. And so before we came out of the gate, and I will tell you, like, I was super nervous because I saw there was already some school districts that had classroom guidelines before the school started. I was like, yikes, yikes, we're already behind. And we were like, no, we're just gonna ease into this and get people using it. And we're gonna give people time to learn from others, replicate, and we're gonna stay true to our mission. And so we gave ourselves some breathers before we started whacking at our policies and our procedures, even though we knew we had to be thinking about that. But here's kind of our gut on policy. We do not like to change, and our policy in our school district, like board policies and things like that, we try to make it as generic and vague as possible because we want to make as few changes as possible to our policies. And so we do not have any new board policies for AI at all. Our amazing chief technology officer, Michelle Bourgeois, we've been talking about this since like September. And we keep looking at our acceptable use policy. And right now we're like, we're good. We're good within our policy around acceptable use and our policy for our student conduct. I didn't write that down. Like, we're not at a place right now where we feel we needed to make any changes for AI. So we're living in with our current policy. But what we have been doing is thinking about classroom guidelines. This was the very first thing. We are a very systems driven school district. We have 60 schools. And I know that there are school districts out there that are very much live in a world of autonomy, but I'd like to say we're not completely lockstep, but we have a system and our people kind of like the system. There's comfort in some system because if one school's doing it, another school's doing it, and then we're all doing it, then we feel like we're doing it together, not, crazy time. But this came rather quickly, and there, we did a couple pop-ups, and I was trying to put it off. I was like, I don't know if I need to do classroom guidelines, but I kept getting pushed, and I'm like, okay, let's do classroom guidelines. So we shared some generic classroom guidelines at two pop-ups in September and October, got some feedback from the teachers, and then we took that feedback to our student advisory group. We've got a group of about 40 high school students, mostly juniors and seniors, very diverse, intentionally a group of lots of different students because we want that rich, diverse thinking. So we started asking them, this was way back in October, have you ever used a generative AI tool? And you can see 23 out of the 40 kids responded and they said, yes. And then I asked them, well, what are you using? And at that time, they're like, ChatGPT and my AI. And so then I asked them, do you think it's important for schools to provide students with guidelines? And if you watch TV or I don't know, social media, you read all this stuff, I our students are amazing. Anything in the world, would tell you that high school kids would be like, no, no, don't tell us what to do. Our kids were like, yes, yes, 95%. And I have not met a student yet who hasn't been like, no, yeah, we need guidelines. We want to know how to use it. In fact, they were kind of when I started asking them, like, what do you really need to know? They're like, we want to know the basics. We want to understand generative AI. How is it built? What is it? Where does it come from? And yeah, we want to be safe. We want to be careful. We want to be ethical. We want to be able to limit our bias. And we don't want to be dependent on this thing. So this was some of their feedback. You can see the kids were like, we want to use AI. We don't want it to replace our learning. We want to use it as a resource to improve our learning. They kept talking about guidelines aren't helpful. They're like, we want a curriculum. Put this in our freshman seminar. Make it a class. It was awesome. We even had one student, Fred. He came up to me, and this was in October, and he's like, I've already identified which colleges I'm going to be going, and I've started looking at their AI guidelines, and I'm aligning myself so that my use is already in alignment where I think I'm going to be attending. And I was like, oh my gosh, you are amazing. Like, I wish I were you when I was a senior in high school. So yes, they absolutely were telling us that they needed to have these tools. And so I so so we're providing guidelines. We have provided our schools with some sample guidelines, and they are specific to each classroom. So we don't have specific district guidelines at this time, but but we've given some opportunities for our teachers to create their own classroom guidelines. And so what we're really trying to think about now is how do we do what we said we're going to do? How are we going to help students get those classroom experiences? And so this has been a little bit of a tricky one because uh, we're always looking to say, has anything changed? We look at the terms and terms of use, and so right now, ChatGPT is 13 and older with a parent permission slip. So this is the one tool that for high school students, we've really been working with teachers on how to use. And there's also, I think Adobe Firefly is another one. Canva is not yet. And so we're just waiting to see where the rules are. And yes, we know students have it on their phone and they have whatever they're already using. So we know because we already saw 86% of our students are using from that sample. So, but our teachers are wanting to know, how can I use it with my students? So what our teachers want is a universal permission slip. And we're just not there yet. Until we get universal teacher training, we're not going to provide universal permission slip. So now every teacher that wants to use it in their classroom, they have to get a class permission slip to use it. And so here's how they do that. They go into our codex. This codex has been around for at least 3 to 4 years. And because our state of Colorado has a transparency law with regards to data privacy, we must by law have a place where parents can see every single application that our students may have access to. And so you can go to it, and this is what it looks like. There's hundreds of these apps. Again, we're an iPad district. So apps, many apps. And you can see like district standard, site-based. That means the school has asked for specific permission for an app. And then orange is in review. And so this is an amazing tool. So if you went up into this little space over here and put ChatGPT, boom, it would get you to this page where if you logged in, you would see the opt-in letter generator. If you just go and visit this site, you're not going to access this. But if you would like it, I can help you out with that. But really, it's going to tell you everything you need to know. So ChatGPT, what it is, what the rules are. And if you want to use we have an opt-in policy. So it's not like, it's an opt-in. You have to have permission to use it. Here is the first part of the permission slip. And it says this tool is, and this is a drop-down menu, is or is not provided by the district. And this is provided. We're putting it on your iPad. It's provided by the district. It has been evaluated by district guidelines. And then we're asking the teacher to put the rationale for this in the tool. So I was an English language arts teacher. If I was using this in my class, I would say, I want to use ChatGPT to teach students how to skillfully and ethically and strategically give themselves feedback on their writing. Boom. And then I would print this out, get a parent permission slip, and then I would know who in my class I could actually have using this and I could teach to use skillfully. So this is kind of where we're at right now. Our plan for next year is we're going to go to a universal. And so what we're thinking, it hasn't been decided, but if a school has a family night training and all the teachers have been through at least an awareness-based training, then we will create one universal permission slip that can be available like at registration for ChatGPT at this time. And that will go in our student information system. We use Infinite Campus. So how we do it for like all those beautiful student faces that you saw in our Twitter, every time we have images of students and we put them in Twitter or the local newspaper, we have a media release. So our parents are very used to signing something at registration. We put that information in Infinite Campus so all teachers know who and who does not have permission. And so our thinking is to put ChatGPT permission in for high schools starting next fall. Wow, wow, wow. That was a lot of yapping at you. I'm going to stop sharing and woof. Oh, anybody have any questions that they'd like to ask live or to start a conversation to be like, what do you guys think? Feedback? Better ideas than what I've been sharing?
What kinds of things did you put in your suggested school guidance?
Oh, that's great. It was really around, I tell you, we went into Chat GPT and we said, create sample guidelines for high school students. And that's what we came up with. It was the best that we thought about. We really are thinking about using AI to as a resource. You have to be thoughtful about security and your data privacy, so you've got to be safe. Um, we are asking students to cite their sources, um, and we are asking them to limit their dependence. And we're also asking them to mind their teachers with the teacher says whether or not generative AI can be used for this assignment or should not be used for this assignment.
Thank you.
You bet. Uh, yes. I'm changing permission on the spreadsheet because I made it view only. Lo Santo.
Hi, Diane.
Hey,
Could you talk about how you protect PII with students? Do you evaluate the different AI tools first? You have a list of approved. I saw that ChatGPT is one. One of the other sessions today, there was talking about a concern about how the AI models will use any of the inputs that are given to it through prompt.
yep. Um, Absolutely. So we have a couple of curriculum tools that have AI embedded at this time. One of them is Writable. So we spend a lot of time analyzing Writable. And right now, the AI is giving specific feedback to teachers, not directly to students. And so that one is a curriculum supplemental curriculum tool that we have approved. Um, we are part of the training with our students around tools like ChatGPT. We're talking to them about how it works and telling them that when they're writing their prompts, not to put in personal information, the real names of people, their own names, addresses. And it's really the same kind of information that we've been training our students for years, whether they are online and they're giving any of that personally identifiable information. So when we're taking a look at, I will tell you, at this point, I don't think calling something safe is, I don't know that anything is 100% safe, but we feel confident in providing our students with access to Chat GPT. I can tell you that there are some other tools out there, and I prefer not to name them here, but there are some tools that we have decided not to go with. I will tell you one of the programs that we're piloting right now is Diffit. And we are looking at how they acquire information and hold information from users and their level of uh, practices for safety and data privacy. And should that continue to go well, we might add that as part of our district platform for next year for teacher use. Does that help your question?
It does, thank you. We were also looking at Diffit as well.
Yeah. I see a question at the K2 level. Really even at the K8 level, we're talking about how do we help students understand what artificial intelligence is. They're not necessarily using the tools right now, but we do lots of coding and robotics, and having the conversations around machine language and how technology works. Um, mostly at the K2 level, it's really, we're still in the coding space. Where I see us going in middle school, is probably going to be connecting sensors, AI sensors, to a lot of the robotics work that we do, and helping students use AI tools to align with creating products. Um, and so we're waiting to see if there are some generative AI tools that will emerge for younger audiences. Maybe you know of some, but we haven't seen any yet that we can use with the young ones. And I just put the spreadsheet link in the chat. Jason or Courtney, do you have any thoughts on where we're headed or other ideas I haven't shared that might be pertinent?
Yeah, when I think about like the tool evaluation, we have tons of processes in place that we've been looking at all these tools, and like Diane said, we haven't kind of moved forward on anything except for that one that Diane mentioned. But the big part of our process is looking at all that data privacy and where it's coming from, where it's going, and all that bit. And I'm sure we're not alone in being inundated with all of these new tools, but we're definitely taking a very slow and thoughtful approach at which ones we would potentially bring into our system. That would be the one big one for me.
You know, I'll tell you, I'm going to put this in the chat. If your school has not, or your district, I highly recommend taking a look at the WACI conference. Our students participated last year. This is the World Artificial Intelligence Competition for Youth. And there's 3 different pathways. Students can create a unique and original image. They can create an AI enhanced product, or they can do a prompt engineering activity. And just by looking at these examples of what students will be doing have been really helpful for teachers to think about how they might teach students to use these tools effectively. I think my favorite one was, I was reviewing it, is the image generator one, because I think a lot of our students are creating images, and they know how to do that. But what I really like about this pathway is it's asking students to create those breadcrumbs. Like what did you do to get to the picture that you liked so much? And so I've really been thinking a lot about metacognition. And while, and kind of, this is to answer your question, Daniel Lopez, to what extent do I see AI transforming the day-to-day for educators? You know, we're going to have a lot of these tools. And we've had, you know, metacognition has been around for a long time. But I think it has never been as important as it's going to be for us now, entering this age where you can have a tool do so much of the thinking and lifting for you. We have got to sharpen our practices around helping students really know what they know understand and are able to do and what they're not. They need to be articulate. They need to be able to say it verbally. They need to have reflection time. They need to be very thoughtful about these things um, so that they can use the tools judiciously. And I'd also like, we use a lot of SAMR model in St. Vrain. And so what I'm seeing a lot, of course, is a lot of substitution, teachers who are using things and good for them, how to do things effectively, efficiently, and to just make some amazing things happen for students. And I'm just curious as to what's going to be transformational. What are going to be the ways that AI is going to allow us to do things that we have not really been able to do. And so, yeah, I'd love to see what you got, Daniel. I really appreciate that. I know George asked if anybody has a good tool or app or vetting tool. I think like that means around what products there are. So I don't know if we have a tool that we use. I think Digital Promise is working on something like that can help people vet stuff. But right now, we're just reading all the terms of use and just going through things with a fine tooth comb, and also Googling everything. We're really trying to look in the news and read about products and programs, because it is a little bit scary. I kind of think right now that our parents, like the whole screen time, there was a big screen time debate after we implemented one-to-one. And I think we did a really good job educating parents and students. We have books and they're using both, and we're not staring at a screen all day. I think some parents, are very aware of AI, and others don't really know it, but it's ripe for fear. And so that's why we want to get ahead of this, having family nights as soon as possible, so that parents see how it can be used, and how we are intentionally using it in our classrooms, potentially, because there's a lot of good reason to have some level of fear, but we have to have the knowledge will help us understand what we're really working with. So I appreciate all of you today just taking some time to join. This will be recorded, and you have my contact information. I hope some of you are presenting and I get to learn from you at this conference. I think these folks have done an incredible job in putting this together. Just the sessions have been amazing. So thank you all. Have a wonderful afternoon and rest of your day, and perhaps we'll see you later and tomorrow. Thanks for stopping by.